Hi, everyone. Thanks for staying for this presentation. Today, the title of the presentation is Attention London. So, what do we mean by Attention London? Well, London is a massive city. There's lots of things to look at. But your attention is driven across lots and lots of different things. Now, when it comes to media, we moving forward on this? It's not. Yeah, thank you. So when it comes to media, a TV campaign, a national TV campaign, will deliver about 58% coverage in the UK. However, in London, that campaign will only reach 48% of the people. Now, that's because people are different in London. We commute more, we spend more time out of home, and we spend more time on our mobile phones as well. So it's a bit of a fragmented media landscape. So, the London bus shelter. The London bus shelter can plug that gap. So with a TV campaign, you're under-delivering in London. There are 10,000 bus shelters in London with advertising sites on it. If you buy 1,000 of those, you can deliver 70% coverage. So a high-reach medium at a low cost per 1,000. So the London bus shelter can plug that gap. And it's iconic. The London bus shelter is everywhere, outside every single tube station, outside all of the landmarks, where you work, where you play. It's everywhere and delivers big reach numbers. So, JCDecaux and bus shelters, we have a heritage in bus shelters. This gentleman here is Claude Decaux. 60 years ago, he invented the bus shelter advertising concept by going up to the mayor of Lyon and saying to him, if you let me sell advertising on your shelters, I will maintain them for you. Now, that concept is something that's happened and continues to this day. Today, we work with people like TfL, and there are 10,000 bus shelters in London, 1,000 of those digital. And we still do the same thing, ensuring that those bus shelters serve a purpose, keeping customers dry, but then also being able to sell the advertising on it as well. And those bus shelters have changed massively over time, and they're now digital. And those digital screens are 2 meters squared and can drive a lot of attention. So what about today, and what are we here to talk about today, and what research are we here to talk about? Well, a year ago today, we were on stage talking about attention and creative. And we talked about how to create the perfect poster and how to make a great poster. And what we said on that day is that screens generally get 2 seconds of attention. You're doing about your daily life. You don't spend that much time looking at each individual screen, but you do get high frequency, 12 frequency. Now, in the last year, what we've thought is, well, 2 seconds is the average. So that must mean there are some screens that deliver more than 2 seconds. So what we want to do here is understand, well, where are those screens? So here you see the average levels of attention driven by lots of different media, lots of digital media there, and out of home here at 1.6 seconds of attention. Now, the difference on this chart is digital media, there's lots of variation. Different sites deliver different levels of attention, as you would expect, based on content and so forth. But out of home is just this one bar here. So what we wanted to do is understand, actually, does that differ by environment or how you're behaving? So how did we do that? Well, we set up a test with Lumen, and we wanted to test 3 different behaviors. Generally speaking, you will do one of 3 things when you are consuming a digital poster. You'll either be in a car, you'll either be walking, or you will either be sitting at a bus shelter. So what we wanted to do was understand the difference of attention with each one of those behaviors. Now, the research is quite big, so today we're just going to focus on that attention within the bus shelter. And if you want to know more, keep in touch with us, because we'll be talking more about this pedestrian and this driving as we move forward. So, how did we do this? Well, we worked with Lumen, and we showed a group of people, 450 people, a variety of videos, either the walking, the driving, or the bus shelter video. The webcam on your computer converts to an eye tracker, and it can understand where you're looking and for how long. We also wanted to then understand what people remember. So we did some surveys afterwards to understand spontaneous brand recall, and then that gives you the report afterwards. So what is the result? Well, we're going to skip straight to the result, because basically what happens is, if you remember, we have 1.6 seconds of attention for general out-of-home. Inside of a bus shelter where you're waiting, it goes up to 4.4 seconds of attention. So that's each time the ad plays, you get 4.4 seconds of attention, which takes it above and competing with these digital media types. But what can you do with 4.4 seconds of attention? Well, that picture there that I just showed you was up for 4 seconds. Now, that picture will evoke probably some emotion amongst any of you that watched the football the other day. But the point about this is any brand now can deliver their message for that length of time in one of these iconic bus shelters. 2 meters of squared space, engagement, 4.4 seconds. So that's the results of the attention study. But why is it important? Well, at the moment, brands are buying, and if you were listening to Mike in the session a second ago, he was talking about brands and agencies that are engaged with attention, and advertisers as well, because attention allows you to look at media, cross-media. So how much time you're spent looking at a TV advert or an out-of-home advert or a digital advert, it gives you a standard metric to be able to compare these things. So what we're trying to do here is position out-of-home in that place. And sticking with Lumen's theme here, brands are able to buy using places like the Trade Desk and other DSPs. They look for sites that deliver lots of attention and then want to buy them. What we're doing here today is bringing you the opportunity to be able to now select out-of-home screens that deliver more attention than the average. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that. But before we do that, why do we want good attention? Well, here's the results from the study, and you can see the more time you look at something, the more likely you are to remember the brand. The more likely you are to remember the brand, the then more likely you are to remember what it's actually saying and what the advertiser is asking you to do. So better brand recall equals better message recall, which is great. But then the next thing that comes after that, on average, somebody in London waits in a bus shelter for around about 5 minutes. Now, the next thing that you do when you're at a bus shelter, unsurprisingly, is you get on a bus. So what do you do when you're on a bus? Well, this is where we take another new piece of research which we're bringing you today, which we did with On-Device. This was another study, separate study, 450 commuters, understanding what they did using a opt-in, first-party, passive meter. So what that basically means is somebody went onto the bus, and we could understand exactly what they were doing on their phone. What were they looking at, what they were messaging, all of this kind of stuff. So we've aggregated this all up, and what we found is that, on average, somebody who commutes by bus spends an hour and a half on the bus per day. That's going each way. 58 minutes of that, so 2/3 of the time that you spent on the bus, you are engaged with your mobile phone. You're sat down there looking at it. If you travel on the train and you travel on the bus, you will see that this is happening all the time. It's a great opportunity to reach someone just when they're about to engage with mobile phone. And they might be playing games, they might be on social media, or they might be browsing. On average, a bus commuter will make one search on the internet while they were on the bus. So you get 4.4 seconds of attention. That 4.4 seconds of attention is going to encourage you to remember who the brand is and remember what the message is. And then you're going to have a prolonged period of time where you're sat on your mobile phone to engage with that message. So that's why you should do it. Now, how do you do it? And this is kind of the new bit as well. So the attention bus shelter. So there are 10,000 shelters that have advertising on them. Some of them are digital, some of them are paper. 441 across London are like this, which means that they're the inside of the bus shelters. So the ones where when you're sitting down or you're waiting in the bus shelter, they're right there in front of you. They're right there, giving you that dwell time. So these 441, we can make a package and post that into a DSP right now, and you could buy that if you wanted to. However, you might not want to buy 441. You might want to be a bit more specific. And that's where we come in and talk about a new data set. So the bus shelters at TfL, And TfL obviously have a lot of data as well. So every time you tap in on a train or a tube or a bus, that is collecting data. So of the 20,000 bus shelters in London, they deliver 34 million taps. So 34 million people get on the bus in London every week, which is 36% more people than get on the tube. This data can also be broken down by hour, day, and week. So you can understand which bus shelters are going to be busy on which days and at which times. Once that data is available, you can then start to think about how you might want to plan your campaigns. This bus shelter is very busy right now, so therefore I want to activate my campaign. So just coming to the end now. So how does this work in practice? So these are the top 50 shelters in London, and you can see it's a broad spread. They're not congregated just in the centre of London. They're all over the place in London. But using TfL data, we can start identifying where people are and at what times. So for example, this bus shelter here is in Stratford. It's right by the Olympic Stadium and West Ham's football ground, which means on a Saturday at 5 to 7 p.m., it's very busy and full of West Ham fans. So if you had a target audience or you wanted to reach some football fans, this might be a very cost-effective way of doing it. A 2-hour slot on a digital screen, which you can activate using TfL data. Alternatively, we had a look at Hyde Park. So these screens here at Hyde Park Corner. Winter Wonderland, big Christmas festival across the whole of December. What we can do here is we can look across December, and between 8 and 10 p.m. when people are leaving that festival, you can activate by the 2 hours on these two screens, and you can engage with an family audience that goes to Winter Wonderland. And then lastly, if you want to reach people who are in marketing and digital marketing, you might want to use this screen here. So this screen is directly outside Liverpool Street Station, and this ad has been playing there all day because we wanted to reach people who were coming to this festival. So we programmed the advert to play between 8 and 10 this morning as people were arriving and coming from Liverpool Street Station. So again, the idea that you can select a particular time of day using a data set, which could be TfL or it could be the fact that we knew everyone was coming here meant that we could do this. So that's it. So hopefully that's given you a flavour of some of the stuff we can do. 3 new studies. We've got a study from Lumen, which talks about attention. We have a study from On-Device, which talks about how people behave while they're commuting. And then lastly, the data that we now have from TfL, which talks about how people travel around London and how you can use it to target people. So if you want to know more, or you want to get involved, or you want to speak to us about this, then please give that a scan. That will take you through to a site where you can talk to us. So that's it. So thank you very much for staying to the end, and appreciate your time.
So Chris, just before we finish, it's just these attentive screens, because I think it might have been lost, but these attentive screens.
Yeah.
You can package that up into a particular buy. Is that correct?
Exactly. So there are 441 screens. You can buy as many of them as you want, and at any given time. So you can buy by the hour. And that's the whole point of the event-based activation. There's an event going on, you activate before and after the event to reach the people that are going to. Really good if you're sponsoring an event, exactly like what we did at Liverpool Street today. We wanted to show people that we were at MadFest. We wanted to attract people to the stage, so we put a poster where we knew people that were coming to this conference were going to be.
And are you looking for partners here to test this out and to link to the TfL data?
So we are looking for partners. Nobody's done this yet. This is brand new. You will know, Mike, that we only received the data last week for this project. So it was a bit of a rush to get it ready for today. So we're looking for brands who want to buy into this concept and test it as well. Because our belief is that if you buy a high attention screen, you will get better outcomes. So that is something that we would love to help somebody with if they wanted to come and buy some advertising on these attention-rich screens. What does it actually do after the campaign?
So just to say that again, as we finish for today, come and talk to Chris, because he's got an offer for you. And a roll up, because understanding how attention works across all media is great, but making sure that you can link it to outcomes especially these new TfL outcomes that we're talking about, is vital. Which I think leads us to the final, bit. Thank you very much, guys, for your attention today. We've had a series of themes that have gone through the entirety of our talks today. One is that attention is an issue across all media. We've had people talking about digital media, but also TV, CTV and linear, out of home, even out of home on TV, if you remember. So this is something that affects everything. The second thing that people have said time and again is that attention is the start, not the end. Trying to make sure that you link attention to outcomes is really, really important. Whether that's a memory or whether that's money, making sure that you link attention to the outcomes is absolutely essential and absolutely vital, and is something that the marketing and effectiveness people from HSBC and from Virgin O2 were very much at pains to talk about. And the third thing that people have been talking about time and again is the importance of creative. We have been saying for years and years now that you have to start thinking like a poster. We all have more to learn from the out-of-home. The digital industry has much more to learn from the out-of-home industry than the other way around. What's irritating about Chris's talk here is it seems that posters are better than YouTube. And in actual fact, perhaps the only place that you can deliver a half-decent video now would be a poster at a bus stop. I'm going to have to change my tune about that now. But in all cases, making sure that you design your ads for the attention that's available is really more. That's something that Rob Hall from Playground and the guys from Heineken were talking about, but it's also something that the guys from Snap were talking about. So 3 big themes that came through loud and clear. Tomorrow we have more stuff about attention and outcomes, but we have even more stuff about the impact of creative and how you can optimize things there with people from Realize, the facial coding company, and from lots of TV companies as well. Do come back if you can. Thank you very much for your time now. I think we all earned ourselves a drink. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Thanks, Mike.